Welcome back, everyone. This is the post-game breakdown of our previous game, Gen G versus Weibo. GB, describe it in 5 words or less.
5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wait, that's 6 because it's 5 2 times.
That was a really bad guy.
Yeah.
Yep.
You
tried.
It's when you said use 5 words, my brain already goes into, I don't know, nothing. But that game was a roller coaster, and that was tense, as we said.
They got outscaled!
Well, they didn't have any, pick potential with that draft.
It's sad, it's sad. But hey, it's time for something really, really special. We've got a double feature up in our cinema. We're going to watch, I think, 2 amazing movies that are incredibly back and forth. We're going to start with Fnatic versus Dplus KIA, and then we're going into TL versus LNG. I mean, in terms of kind of storytelling, impossible passion and back and forth and chaos.
It has it all.
It should.
Absolute cinema, believe in the show.
Yeah.
And GB, you know this, like, both of these teams, you've lived it, especially from Fnatic side.
I mean, definitely left side, we've felt that multiple times before. I mean, I already love this because the Twitter slogan the teams are going for as well. So I think this not only reflects what they want to prove here at the World Championship, but it also kind of reflects their play style. From Fnatic, it is absolute cinema. It's back and forth. It's a plot line you're not expecting. And I remember seeing the PGBs we had from the G2 series as well, if you remember back to the summer finals, not season finals, but also a little bit, but summer finals specifically with
for people that have missed it.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a tragedy. This is Fnatic's 2nd seed. The LEC 2nd seed, that was a bad intro. I said it was a tragedy. This is LEC 2nd seed. Fnatic, Oscarinin, Razork, Humanoid, Noah, and June. And we will talk a little bit more about kind of what our issues were with Fnatic, I feel like, this year, but we will also introduce LCK's 3rd seed in Dplus KIA with Kingen, Lucid, ShowMaker, Aiming, and Moham. And I think our trepidation comes from the fact that if Fnatic was 10% better in the entire year, they probably would have won one of the titles that they were in contention for. But in crucial games, they couldn't drive it home. And I feel like the same thing goes for Dplus KIA in some of their games?
It's one of those things. I mean, you can see it on your screen right here that if you can't finish a game domestically, you have a lot of question marks when you start going into the international stage. Because when you play against the best teams, they know how to salvage a bad early game and make sure you can win through great macro of... What are you doing with that? Great macro through mid to late game. But one of the things that you don't believe in suddenly is when there's a team that starts throwing these things. You need to be able to know how to close out a game when you're playing against the best of the best.
Yeah, and it's a frustrating one.
And that's the thing. Like, you've already talked about it from Fnatic side, how unpredictable they can be because they can get that early game lead, but everything else is a movie. Like, for me, watching in North America, I don't know what I can get out of a Fnatic versus G2 or Fnatic versus anyone for that matter. And for DK Plus, like for me,
Dplus KIA.
it's a process for me. My brain's not working properly. But for D Plus, the thing for them is the same kind of storytelling.
Yeah.
They have incredible individual players. For me, Lucid has been so fun to watch. And, ShowMaker is as much of a playmaker as you can get. But then the leads they have, you just can't expect them to hold it.
No, that's the thing, because that one has kind of been the team in the LCK as well, where it's fallen apart in that mid to late game session. They've had some oopsies as well, where they're kind of just crap walking around, looking at their opponent, then we start a fight, oh, maybe it wasn't the best.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of fans coming into this game who's going to feel like Fnatic is going to get completely dumpstered. And they're definitely coming in as underdog against Dplus for sure, but it's one of those things where Dplus is not a perfect team either. They're a team that also has had some issues with the meta as it currently was at the LCK domestically. I think the hope for a lot of LCK fans, though, is that they are going to be more comfortable coming into the mid lane meta that's now happening with Lucid, who's already been a great jungler surrounding ShowMaker too. The 2v2 from the mid lane is going to be what I'm having my eyes on today, because I think it's going to be defining the series.
It absolutely is. I mean, I think Bot is also going to have something to say about it, but you did mention the meta, and we have to talk about ShowMaker being back at Worlds and the fact that he had a pretty miserable time in the ADC meta, right? The return to kind of what he is known for could be a big boon for Dplus KIA.
Yeah, I mean, he literally named his account Syndra. Like, he is ready for it, and you can already see both these teams are ready for it, walking on the stage as we speak. Hell yeah.
Let's watch the movie.
Boys, here we are for the cinema, for the show, movie stuff. Fnatic fans already loud. Nightshare taking to the stage to look to defend on their home turf up against DK. And no, not Donkey Kong, Dplus KIA. Although they're also here to kick some tail.
feel like you've been working on that.
I looked at the lyrics to the Donkey Kong rap. I was going to quote it more, but I was like, I don't know if this is the best.
I mean, this is the game I've genuinely been the most excited about, which worries me a bit because I'm like, have I overhyped it? Because the expectation surrounding this is
would it be a movie if someone hadn't overhyped it?
Yeah,
would it be cinema?
That's true. It's a situation where you've got two teams that have incredible talent domestically.
Yes.
They've showcased they've been able to compete with the best the region has to offer, but their macro is lacking. It results in messy barons, crazy side lanes, flip-flop dives. It's all sorts of chaos. And we think back to the summer season ending for Fnatic, the fact that they didn't get a single win against G2, and they definitely probably should have won that series. In contrast to Dplus KIA, who recently had a nail-biter best of 5 against T1, and it was a spectacle, for sure. It was,
most certainly.
So that's the impression that people have of both of these organizations. And so I'm excited to see what, for the purpose of entertainment, I hope they haven't improved at all. But obviously, but obviously, we want to see these teams get better. We want to see them adapting to the meta more, with mages returning into the mid lane. Obviously, the previous game was not a great indicator of that, and we're hoping that that doesn't set any precedent for the rest of the tournament.
And look, all I'm going to say is, I feel like the best version of both of these teams has just been riding that mid jungle 2v2.
Oh yeah.
To closing out the game. And that doesn't always been the cleanest version, but like, you look at ShowMaker Lucid, I feel like Lucid's just ready to go. ShowMaker's ready to go. And it's a similar story for Razork and Humanoid. Yes, Fnatic have tried playing towards bot lane, they've tried a lot of other things, but I feel like the most effective version of this team is still when Razork and Humanoid are working together to build these massive leads, and have to see if that's what the strategy they're going to go for today is.
Now, naturally, the big elephant in the room is the contrast between the two AD carries, with Noah having struggling performances internationally, with and aiming looking incredible across the LCK summer season. He is a large part of why Dplus KIA were even as in contention for those top spots. He's had so many solo carry performances. He's had some incredible games that you have to feel like that when it comes to the AD carry matchup, aiming is a heavy favorite coming into today's best of 1.
And we'll see. You know, Fnatic is a team that has been very defined by momentum for so much of this year, right? When they're in a good mood and in a good headspace, you can tell. They play much better, with much more confidence. So the importance of this first one, and it's not a series. We have to play again tomorrow, and both these teams looking to start off 1-0. Going to face the other 1-0 teams, get a bit of a lead early on. Falling down can be devastating. All it takes is a single upset when you're in that 0-1 bracket to be putting you in best of 3 elimination territory. For now, Vi, Ziggs, Orianna all banned away. Vi, you know, against Lucid, you gotta respect it. This man likes to go and gank, and Vi is the best champion to do so.
His 2 most played across his career, at least in Vi, right? And we've seen how effective Vi can be in the meta. The Aurora ban going to come through from Fnatic on the blue side. A little telling, but perhaps they don't want to prioritize it or not comfortable playing it. The respect being shown towards Razork with the Ivern taken away. How will Dplus KIA round things out on their sides? Skarner still available. Ashe still available. Ezreal is something we've seen Noah lean on a lot, especially when he's looking to try and play more on the weak side, and Fnatic have more of a mid focus, depending on what this mage priority is. It's going to be the Smolder removal. They saw the impact that it had in the previous game from Gen G and said, you know what, we don't want to give Humanoid that possibility. And the Yone blind pick coming in from Fnatic. Is this a potential flex pick? We don't typically see it from Oscar. We did see a few games of it from Humanoid throughout the season finals.
Yeah, and it was one of the big improvement points for Fnatic, was that for a while I felt like Humanoid wasn't the most comfortable on AD champions, had very few options compared to the rest of the league, but had a fantastic glow up on the Yone. Now going to be the prioritized first pick. Obviously a champion that everyone has high expectations of, but picking it early does mean giving over, at the very least, the Skarner, high priority. I'm going to say jungle pick, but technically a flex. Can be taken top lane as well.
Right now, Dplus KIA just flowing through some of the hovers. This Yone pick is definitely interesting for them to want to first pick it. Is a surprise. The Gnar blind going to come through from Dplus KIA. Now, we know Oscar, he's no stranger to the Camille. It's a question of whether or not that's the direction they're thinking about. You're going to need some AP to come through somewhere for Fnatic. With Ziggs removed, it's unlikely to come from the bot lane, which means that it needs to come in from the jungle or the top lane. It's going to be the Zyra. So we talked about adaptation to the meta. Fnatic sticking to a meta that was very familiar to them domestically. The Zyra was something that we haven't seen so far at the World Championship, but Razork saying, I think it's still good. And they've built themselves a strong top side. There's the hover from ShowMaker.
ShowMaker.
I think this matchup is really good for the Syndra, by the way.
It's interesting because before he came to EUS solo queue and named himself Syndra, he had an interview with Kai'Sa Esports with Ashley where he said, actually, I think it's only good in like a couple circumstances and it's not that great. The E cooldown sucks. It's like really niche. Which kind of, but I'm not sure because that interview was so old if he has changed his mind and it's just like a jam Syndra all the time situation, or if, you know, which is the true version of ShowMaker.
I mean, we have to acknowledge at some point that Orianna is definitely clearly higher on the priority list and Syndra's definitely fallen to the wayside in contrast to what our initial expectations were coming into the tournament. With the Ezreal locked in, this is still a flex pick possibility for both ShowMaker and Aiming. More likely going in the direction of Aiming, but we'll have to wait and see as the Ash ban now comes through from the side of Dplus KIA.
And ShowMaker, a guy who was vocal about not being super comfortable in the double AD meta, AD with an AP jungle. Also didn't fit Lucid, I think, the best, a guy who likes to be on these much more proactive playmakers. So would be a shame for him to come in on a new patch, a new tournament, and have to go right back to ADs in the mid lane. We'll see, though, what they want to go for as
Kai'Sa.
Ash, Kai'Sa, both the more lane-dominant
LeBlanc,
options taken away.
Probably the ban now from, oh, Leona. So Fnatic is looking at something like a Jhin Rell, probably. Maybe they're not enthusiastic about the Jhin going up against the Skarner. I wonder if they would consider something like a Jinx, but they need a way to start fights. We've already seen what can happen if you don't have that engage, and so far Dplus KIA aren't really lacking on that front with both the Skarner and the Gnar available. They could lock in the Rell for themselves, but there's ShowMaker's LeBlanc. We talked about it as a potential ban, and he's gonna lock it in. Exciting stuff. He was able to have pretty significant impact on it in the Game 5 against T1 to even qualify for the World Championship. It's a favorite of his and something that he is very well respected for. We'll see what he's able to do up against Humanoid on this Yone. Kai'Sa and Jhin are the two hovers right now for Fnatic. We talked about how just versatile and how much the Rell makes sense. You've got to remember, though, that's an Ezreal and a LeBlanc, a lot of mobility. Maybe a Nautilus with a little bit more lockdown would have made more sense, but instead they want this big AoE engage. They want that reliable way to start the fights, and it looks like they're going to pair that up with the Kai'Sa.
Kai'Sa, interesting. Obviously, really good matchup into the Ezreal. Can't get in, but instead, Jhin.
They're debating, flexing between the two.
I mean, it's tough because you have so much upfront damage on this team that Jhin will feel really good if he can stay far enough out of position, if he can find access into the fights. But the Kai'Sa is much safer as we get later into the game. So instead, the Kai'Sa going to be the option here. Still has good poke. Obviously, if they do want to go for the AP itemization choice. But Braum and Poppy are both really good into this composition.
They definitely are. There's a lot of dive on the side of Fnatic, and Braum can just make their lives miserable. And that's exactly what it's going to do. Paired up nicely with the Ezreal. It's a very safe defensive bot lane 2 versus 2. The idea behind picking Kai'Sa into Ezreal is that you can have a relatively easy laning phase to allow the Kai'Sa to scale up, get that early static shiv, have a little bit more wave clear. The problem points are going to be this mid lane matchup. LeBlanc versus Yone in the early game. LeBlanc is going to be able to have a lot of pressure. The side lane threat is going to get a little bit easier as Yone gets more items, especially once you're 3 on Yone. You become this monster side laner that really very few champions in the game can contest. But with this beefy frontline on the side of Dplus KIA in the Skarner and the Braum, this feels like a very difficult wall that Fnatic are going to struggle to break through.
Certainly, and I'm also concerned that if we end up in a situation where DK find an early mid-jungle advantage, Razork is going to be the one who suffers, because while Zyra packs a punch, most certainly very vulnerable to that Skarner LeBlanc. A single piece of CC hits her and very likely to get taken off the rift. And that said, early game. Sorry. No, I was going to say early game, I just think the thing that we have to keep our eyes on, right? We talk so much about mid-jungle, now it's time to see if that's going to be the name of the game or if teams are going to put their focus elsewhere.
And I want to remind viewers at home that even though we've talked about our expectations are that we're looking for a chaotic game between these two teams, Dplus KIA is still the favorites coming into this matchup, right? The reality is that domestically, they still just smash teams that are worse than them. And this is going to be the test for Fnatic.
What are you saying?
Where on the totem pole do you fall
Certainly.
in the context of the LCK? And I'm looking forward. EU versus the LCK. EU started off rough up against BLG to start off the day.
Right now, the LPL has one up on us. Will the LCK also have one up on the LEC?
Let's find out. We're jumping into game. It's game 4 of the day. Fnatic versus Dplus KIA. I'm excited. You should be excited as well. I'm hoping we get a lot of brawls, a lot of fighting. Both teams making their way out onto the rift, and already Dplus KIA making their presence known in the Fnatic bot side jungle.
And I like this. Overall, early contest on the Raptor spawn, knowing that Braum gives them the much stronger level 1. Can just get really aggressive, because what are Fnatic going to do level 1? Kai'Sa level 1? Yone level 1? Hard for them to stop DK from wandering in. No wards placed, however. Instead, just retreating to defend their own side of the map.
They started with 2 sweepers. Pings have come down from the side of Fnatic. Kingen's going to run face first into Oscar, or not. He's going to take the safe way around. A lot of pings.
Saw moments ago at the top of your screen. The global power rankings powered by AWS. Fnatic at 13th, DK at 7th coming in here.
And here comes the lane swap through from Fnatic. Going to play it safe. Already jungle and support. Well, I say that. Jungle and top lane are paired up. Razork going to start alone. Support going to go into the mid lane, as you would expect. Top lane to the top. I feel like a broken record as I've now explained this every single game, but I'm going to keep explaining because if you just tuned in, expectations definitely interesting from the players' side.
Yeah, and Razork coming in with a lot of confidence when he spoke to Ashley at Horizon earlier. A medium amount of confidence. I think it might be a really Fiesta game. I'm not sure. We need to see. We're a new Fnatic. Hopefully we don't throw leads. And then he said, hopefully one more time. Which undermined, I think, a little bit the sentiment he was trying to say. But Fnatic aware of their own chaotic team, aware of some of the struggles that they've had. And I think it is a similar story for DK, or Dplus KIA on the opposite side. Is we've now got the 2v2 mid set up. Oscarinin and Noah trying to do damage, but again, you can see what 85% fortification looks like. Those autos do not do damage to that tower.
What's crucial here is because Jun has been pushed underneath this tower, he's been denied the level 2. He's still 1 creep off it, I think, and Moham has access here. Gonna be playing a bit of spoiler. Jun saying if I can just get to the tower, 1 minion dies, I get level 2, the TP can come in from Oscar, he can catch that wave, we're chilling.
It's really awkward though because his aftershock was procced by him hitting the blast cone, I believe, onto Moham.
And here comes the TP.
Which means if anyone hits him, he is likely dead, but Oscar is here. Fury stacked.
He's going to tick over to level 3 off of this.
He's taking his time, waits to Q until he knows he's got it.
Jun is being denied so much XP. Here comes the dive.
Mark's there, concussive blows, making this dive easy as Oscar tries to make it out safety. Knock back into the wall is big. Ishtal's edge. Oscar still standing for now, though. Kingen debating if he wants to go any bit further. The redive should just come through. Oscar needs a bit more time before he gets the Cold to meet back. Jun trying to body block, but the boomerang still there. Q flash, not going to do much of anything, and Jun now in trouble. They tried to outplay him, but they're getting taken down in the end. A clean bot side dive from Dplus KIA.
Great patience from Dplus KIA and good management of the aggro from the tower as well. Razork does finally arrive, but it's too late. No TP available for Oscar. Kingen gets 2 assists, 1 kill, goes over to aiming as well. And Dplus KIA are just setting themselves up nicely to start off this game.
That's about as good as you can hope of a start. Not only are you the team not swapping, so it's easier for you to take plates, but you're able to make this dive happen.
Yeah, they get a lot of damage off onto Oscar to start off the play. Aiming does take tower aggro at the very end, but he's able to disengage. And then like, you see a nice little hop hit from Kingen. And combined with aiming, they're able to deal enough damage. And then Jun, he just doesn't have the cooldowns this early on into the game. Yeah, just very well played. They did their best to outplay. Oscar even committed the flash, but that's now a summoner spell down. We find ourselves back in standard lane matchups, but with Dplus KIA having advantages across the board.
Noah and Jun got away from the first few levels of the lane at the very least, but I think the only silver lining of this all is aiming, goes back, he buys a tier, he buys some components, but early itemization, at least forcing Ezreal away from more combat stats. So it's not too much of a discrepancy in the 1v1, although he will be able to spam a lot more Qs. Need to keep our eyes as well on mid lane. Humanoid and Fnatic prioritizing this Yone very highly, but obviously partially due to the lane swap in the 2v2, as well as a difficult lane matchup. We just haven't seen anything from it quite yet. He's down flash and down TP, which is going to make things pretty difficult.
Yeah, Shark's made an interesting point where Humanoid is a player who's branded as someone that rises to the occasion of his opponents, but really we haven't seen that for a while, right? And you can only hold that moniker for so long without any results to back up a statement like that.
And it's a difficult position for him to be in because that was kind of the saving grace of some inconsistencies in his performance, was that when it mattered, he did show up. And if that's no longer there, you know.
So this first game will be a big test for him as well. Like, so far he started off the lane pretty well. You can see there's a stacked wave that he's going to have to catch underneath his tower as Dplus KIA already going to secure that dragon. And unfortunately for Fnatic, they're a bit behind on the play. They don't have control over the mid wave, ready to set up for the grubs on the top side. They didn't commit for any type of swap. So while there's constant trades back and forth in the mid lane 1 versus 1, it's Dplus KIA that maintain control over the map for now.
We'll have to see what these lanes look like once level 6s start to come through. ShowMaker just getting his. Kingen pretty behind in terms of XP. Oscarinin going to get to a much faster level 6, but I imagine it'll be pretty difficult for him to leverage that spike unless Kingen oversteps here.
Humanoid going to commit to a base here, investing in early magic resistance to help weather the pressure as Lucid already starting off those grubs. Love the proactivity here. Remember, the Humanoid's gone back to base. Razork is alone.
I mean, Lucid, bit of a risky play overall, right? Fnatic got the reset first, his bot lane just now recalling, so the downside of kind of going for that gamble is that it's easy for Razork to walk in and take 2 away, but frankly, probably shouldn't have been able to get any of them, so an aggressive choice, but does at least pay off a little bit.
Notice, though, that while all the chaos has been happening in the early game and Dplus KIA have been able to find these advantages, Razork's level 6. He has just been power farming his way through the early game, and already with that ultimate available, puts him in a very scary spot. Fnatic swap their bot lane to top, going to unlock some plates for themselves. The idea was here, you swap and then be in a position to secure the grubs, but because Lucid already started them, they're not really able to do that. The swap is going to be matched. And aiming, after securing that first kill, already finds himself with about a 400 gold lead, and the Sheen already secured.
Sheen going to make a lot of these trades much more favorable. But overall, no objective on the map to play for at this stage, 7 minutes in. Both grubs and dragon off the board means that see what Fnatic want to do with their top side pressure and if they can sustain it. Mid lane's still very much in favor of ShowMaker in terms of the overall push. We'll get a bit better for Humanoid as he gets more attack speed and more magic resist, but for now, LeBlanc still very much running the show. Oscar able to push in Kingen, but you can see Lucid there to support, ready to punish if Oscar overcommits.
And so far, nothing too crazy outside of that initial dive. Dplus KIA did a really good job of you know, reacting to the lane swap as you're supposed to. Ultimately, when you get to that point of the dive, it all comes down to execution, and they were able to out-execute that of Fnatic. And in terms of the early objectives, though, it's pretty even. Lucid now with the level 6 himself as full clears continue to come across the board. Yone is clearing out a bit of vision on the top side as ShowMaker gets a very nice trade. You're seeing in this early game how favorable it is.
Gets the flash out. Q3 there for Humanoid, does manage to lock it up. Yone immediate lockdown coming in as well. ShowMaker, the clone is there. He's able to get out to safety just in time. Razork throwing down the ultimate, but hand delivered. Lucid bringing Yone back under the tower to punish.
Really nice outplay from the mid jungle of Dplus KIA. Ultimately, it was a bit of an overcommitment. Fnatic were a bit disconnected on the play because Razork couldn't quite get in range in time, which meant that he wasn't able to land that ultimate or that final Q onto ShowMaker. They didn't have the damage, but then because Yone was pulled underneath the tower and the chains connected as well, the tower shots were enough to trade back the kill.
And what's frustrating there is that while Yone was there for the play, that was a 2v3 where Fnatic had more members, and you can see now the price of that play is that Aiming and Moham just get to get 2 plates uncontested as Noah is forced under tower. He's going to need to reset soon, only half his life bar remaining.
2 kills now for Lucid. This Skarner is going to become a very serious problem with the rate that he's being accelerated. Pushing the top side for the bot lane of DK as they secure themselves a few more plates.
Lucid coming, can go through the wall. They don't really have good vision coverage. We'll know he's coming as soon as he uses the Ishtal's edge. Shouldn't know a step up here at all. They'll be in trouble, but Razork is there to cover, crucially. Oh,
slowly but surely, DK are just building lead after lead. They're just finding these small opportunities. The lanes are going their way as well. The farm is just slowly starting to build up in their favor. And again, like, it comes back to what we talked about in the regular season. DK, because they just have strong individuals, they are just good at building leads independently. You know, early game leads are something that they're not strangers to. It's the mid game where sometimes we see some questionable decisions, so to find themselves with a lead like this shouldn't come as a surprise. Ultimately, it's going to come down to their execution once they start moving out of the laning phase, when they start setting up around these barons, playing for the neutral objectives, and how well Fnatic can respond, because truthfully, Fnatic's macro has been one of the biggest question marks to them throughout the year.
Definitely has. Can always be difficult when they fall behind. Noah has finished the static, so we'll be able to at least match a bit more the wave clear that Aiming can bring to the table with his ultimate. DK setting up for their second Drake. in a much better position to do so, but it will at least this time be a trade as Fnatic are already on the top side and focusing down those grubs for the threshold again that really matters, and they'll be able to grab it. The question is, can they actually find advantages enough in these lanes to leverage that grub buff? The good news, Noah already top lane, already pushing, will force the TP out from ShowMaker, but he needs to be careful. ShowMaker has the tools to chase him down.
Now, I will acknowledge that I haven't been keeping track of the top laners because rarely do you in a Renekton versus Gnar matchup. Hang on, Lucid.
Lucid going in, has already locked up Humanoid. Humanoid wants to get out to safety. The ulti, though, hits a target, means he doesn't really have anywhere else to go. Ignite still there, Lucid! Snipes him down with a rock.
You thought it would be aiming that finds the Q connect, but by Jun blocking that projectile, he couldn't block the projectile from Lucid. A nice angle comes in from the Dplus KIA jungler, and he's going to put 3 on the board. 4-0 now, the kill score in favor of DK.
Nice snipe there to finish. And good positioning as well to make sure that Humanoid could not use that ultimate to get out for free. DK now transitioning that pressure topside. ShowMaker already pushing in. And this is such a comfort zone for DK. Lucid, ShowMaker having those individual leads now, extending their reach across the map. Razork is there trying to punish, but they don't really have a whole lot of follow-up damage. Humanoid now on the way, and he needs to get that Q3 ready to go. Razork still alive, standing behind the blue buff. ShowMaker trying to finish off the first kill, and he'll do so successfully. Lucid gets a quick ulti off. Blast Cone is going to take him to safety. Oscarinin desperate to get in here and get something back. Noah on the chase. Razork as well. Oscar, nice stun. Not sure if he has the Slice Dice cooldown yet. Guess is correct on which one's the real ShowMaker. Root is there, and ShowMaker will just dash out to safety. 5 kills.
Are they really not going to get anything?
Is he going to get the execute? Jun?
He actually gets the execute. That's 0 kills for Fnatic. Wow, I can't believe that's how it played out. DK, they're able to get the kill onto Jun. They're able to spread out, and then they walk away without giving over anything to Fnatic. 3K now, the gold lead in the early game, and Fnatic are very quickly falling apart.
Aiming is just in the face of Noah and Jun 2v1ing. Completely unafraid. Humanoid will catch a wave on the bottom side. Hasn't even completed an item yet, but this is a terrifying position. Only Noah and Razork have completed an item thus far. You've got Triforce, Ludens, Heartsteel on the 3 middle members of DK. It's going to be really tough for them to contest anything, and it's a minute away from that Herald.
I mean, they are just being rooted in the early game by just Lucid's presence being everywhere on the map. He's been involved in every single kill that DK have been able to find for themselves. They have a 2.5k gold lead, and it's just evenly spread across the map. Even the Braum has a 600 gold lead.
I don't think that one's important.
That one's less important, obviously, but Kingen, he is a full level down. I wasn't keeping track of how he ended up falling so far behind, but ultimately, he's still going to have value and relevance with these fights coming up. And also, we already talked about it, Renekton up against a Braum is going to be very difficult to play, especially with how much strong Lucid is. This front line is going to be so difficult for Fnatic to find their way past.
And concussive blows, Braum's passive is just so difficult to play against for any champion that wants to dive. You can't dance around auto attacks. You will eventually get stunned no matter what you do. As Humanoid uses Soul Unbound back, Q3. They try to set up some control on the bottom side of the map, but you can see in the mid lane, Noah slowly getting pushed in, aiming with a pretty clear range advantage, which makes it easy for him to get first pushes. Jun and Razork debating if they want to go for a play here. Some resources burned on a Moham. Is that now Noah trying to start things off with aiming, but there is Lucid waiting, trying to hand deliver. Noah flashing over to get the kill, at least gets the 1-for-1.
Wow, a heavy commitment from Noah as he does end up trading 1-for-1 in the mid lane. And Lucid not been there, maybe it could have gone more favorably for him. Meanwhile, on the bot side of the map, Kingen getting zoned away from his tower as ShowMaker finding advantages for himself on the top side, pushing Oscarinin out of the lane. But the Herald's still going to go in favor, of Dplus KIA.
You can see here in the economy snapshot, it's pretty favored right now to the side of Dplus KIA. Oscarinin getting something back, but again, getting impact out of this Renekton. It looks like it will be Stride Breaker. It's going to be tough. Hopefully he'll be able to stick to those targets as okay, just continue that topside threat. You only have 1 grub, but still putting so much pressure down.
I think when it comes to expectation setting, right, we talked about how DK should come in as the favorites.
Yeah.
And we talked about how, while they can be a chaotic team, so far, this game has largely been very clean.
And look, we talked to Chronicler, and the thing Chronicler said is, if you want to understand if DK are winning the game, the most common version is mid-jungle 2v2 domination.
Yep.
And that has basically been the game so far. As take a look back at this sequence, was a pick on side. This was during the Noah 1v1. Humanoid was at least able to grab that kill on a Moham.
A valuable and much needed kill as well, as Fnatic continue to fall further and further behind. They set their sights on the mid lane. Razork getting zoned out. Razork has to flash.
ShowMaker now chasing. A little bit of damage back from Razork.
Misses the chains, which means that Razork just barely gets away with his life, but the mid tower still goes down. Humanoid secures the top tier 1, but DK, they're not going to slow down here. They still have the Herald, and they want to put some pressure down onto this tier 2, especially given that Razork zoned away right now.
But they don't have any damage. I think that's just a bit of a fake trying to get DK to back off. They'll take their time. Aiming will knock down the tower.
And now with the push in bot, they can smoothly rotate over to the Dragon. This is going to be the third one of the game. Humanoid is going to try and keep his pressure into the top lane as Kingen commits the TP to try and stop him.
Knock up there from Humanoid, well timed on the TP. Now TP's more coming in from Fnatic. It's going to be 2v2 on the top side. Oscar is here as well. They're trying to lock up ShowMaker, trying to get as much damage down as possible. Oscar taking the tower, but he just gets deleted. Now Humanoid is going and trying to get ShowMaker, but he can't get anything done. Moham here to interrupt. Oh, that's not good for Fnatic. Q3 back at the very least gets a kill, but they can't finish off ShowMaker. The tier 2 at least will drop, and the Dragon falls. In the meantime, it's chaos. Yes,
Dracos, yes it is. This is what we've come to expect from Fnatic. They know that they're not in a position to contest the Dragon, so instead they go for the cross map. Once ShowMaker TP's in to help defend that top tower, it's a 2v2, but Fnatic just overforce. They're convinced that they're able to one-shot ShowMaker, but they just don't quite have the damage. Instead, Oscar loses his life. They still are able to kill Kingen because Razork and Yone are able to make their way up towards the top side. Ultimately, they get the top tower, but they still find themselves about 2.5, nearly 3k cooldown.
well, now DK are on soul point.
Yes.
Which is very terrifying.
We're not even 20 minutes in.
Yeah, against LeBlanc and Ezreal, also double scary. This aiming continues to be relatively unfazed in the mid lane. Noah did find that all in, but it was still very close even without, Lucid getting involved. See what the setup on the next objective is going to look like. 2 minutes. Tell that Baron. Can't imagine that either team is going to rush for it. And Oscar just shepherding in this bot lane wave. It's Fnatic trying to find somewhere to play. Humanoid once again sent out to a side lane. This Fnatic classic, but ShowMaker ready to try and punish him. Blast cone over, dash in, immediate dash back, and they're just dancing around each other. Lucid there to support in case ShowMaker wants to go in for another trade.
Blade is a huge spike for Yone. The thing is, Lucid is here to cover with Moham right behind him. Humanoid alone won't be enough to look for any type of play against all these players. But Lucid continuing his strong jungle coverage. Sure, he's behind in farm, but in terms of impact on the map, he has just been absolutely everywhere. Stealing away this Braum, knows he should be safe to do so as ShowMaker continues to push in that top wave. Yeah, Oscar's found a nice push in bot, but that level lead that he had earlier has completely disappeared. Is Kingen going to catch that?
And if we just take a look at the vision that Fnatic have, it's almost nothing. You can see question mark pings out a little bit on the bottom side. They know ShowMaker is here. They assume Lucid is here, but they don't really have that concrete information. So Humanoid really can't push much further than this until his team is here to support and clear out some of that vision, push out some of these waves alongside him. DK just lingering, lurking in the fog, ready to try and find these picks.
Has to be careful as Lucid spots out Jun. This Dragon is going to be extremely important for Fnatic. They're going to have to find a way to gain some control. Of course, it's still 2.5 minutes away. Baron's going to be the first objective spawn, but I'd be surprised if DK try and force that one. They can set up for the bot tier 2. They have a wave on its way. Keep mid pushed in, have ShowMaker go top. He doesn't have TP available at the moment, but Yone's in a similar boat. Humanoid overstaying on the top side of the map. Maybe he's going to look for a play. But I think the smarter decision is to recall, spend what gold you can.
I will say this 2-item spike for Razork can be very devastating in fights. Rylai's absolutely disgusting item on the Zyra. Certainly simplifies a lot of the CC for the side of Fnatic. Makes it easier for Humanoid to follow up. Maybe that is something they can leverage to try to find a better or more favorable fight. Baron's now on the board. DK with really solid topside control, strong side laners as well.
I mean, this Ezreal is spiking so hard right now as well. That's one of the most concerning things. I think Noah's still quite a ways away from the Rage Blade.
And it's really tough to play this one out because even if you do get that Rage Blade, right, Moham is there, and you're in such a lead for the side of DK that he really can just save that Unbreakable for when Noah does decide to go in or Razork tries to burn all those cooldowns. 2 items for Yone is a big break point. Stridebreaker is an incredibly strong item on this patch. Maybe that is enough, but so far this game, DK have really just been running the show, and Fnatic have not been able to find a fight that's very favorable for them at all.
Right now, Fnatic are prioritizing enabling Humanoid to farm on a side lane, which on the one hand is fine, but Dragon's a minute away. You got to be shifting your perspective towards that objective. You cannot afford to give Soul over towards a LeBlanc and an Ezreal. Their poke damage is just too much. I'm sure Humanoid is desperate to get enough gold to complete his second item. You can see the Rage Blade now finish for Noah, which is a good upgrade.
If Humanoid can get the item, complete the Stridebreaker before the fight, they're essentially on even footing in terms of item completions.
Exactly.
That is what matters. Item completions, ultis, XP relatively close. This would be the closest fight that Fnatic have had access to all game, but they also need to get setup.
And they have no setup right now.
But they do have items.
True. Okay, is that the Stridebreaker completed?
Yeah.
Yes, it is. Okay, so this is what they were waiting for. They're now going to be, I mean, it's the best circumstance to try and take a fight, but now they've got to make their way into the river, which is going to be no easy feat.
They were always going to be at a disadvantage. They had to choose between setup or itemization. They chose setup. So fighting through this choke point will be tricky, especially with ShowMaker just lingering, constantly harassing. Fnatic moving in, observers showing us the vision. They see really nothing. Razork needs to be ready to go over the wall. Objective getting lower and lower. Remember, this is sole point for the side of DK. Lucid still in the area. 2K getting lower. Razork gets it! A crucial steal. The rest of the team now just getting out. They got what they came for. Humanoid has to be careful. Quick ulti back to safety. They took away the Drake. They do not want any other part of this fight.
They don't want to overstay their welcome. It looks like that the title of Jungle Steel King still holds true for Razork domestically. He was always happy to take those fights. Of course, DK, they recognize what they can still do on the map. Good chip damage onto this tier 2 in the bot lane. Oscar can't afford to overextend here as the rest of Dplus KIA are shifting their attention towards the topside river. They still have Smite available on Lucid, and they're just not starting the objective, but they're putting that pressure down onto Fnatic, forcing them to overstay a little bit, giving DK the opportunity to reset and get back out onto the map.
And it's good that we're early in the game for the side of Fnatic, because Oscar showing on the bot wave at the same time as Humanoid could have been really rough for that Baron contest. DK not really in a strong enough position to burn through that health bar quickly. Would take quite a lot of time, and both TPs are available for the Fnatic solo laners. So, all things considered, across the board, you know, DK, yes, they're still on sole point, but not too much more advantage. Their 2K gold lead is very spread out, really aiming the only one with a significant individual lead, and this has turned into a pretty close game, all things considered.
Yeah, I mean, the good news for Fnatic is the lead hasn't grown bigger, right? DK haven't successfully been able to convert it into any additional objectives outside of the ones that they were able to secure in the early game. They've done some good damage onto that bot tier 2, but ultimately they are still in a better position. Their mid tower still stands strong. It's not going to be an easy siege for them, especially with the low-range champions of Yone and Kai'Sa. So they're going to need to find a fight or some type of advantage in order to really knock that tower down. You'll see the DK are always first on that mid-wave as Humanoid going for a bit of a trade here.
Getting incredibly aggressive. Quick soul unbound right as the Mega Gnar comes through. Stops Kingen from using that Gnar if they do want to fight here, but again, there's no objective to fight for. Flash out from Kingen is nice. Slow there from the Rylai's means Lucid can't really approach. They're being herded into the bottom side, and meanwhile on the top lane, you've got ShowMaker pushing that tower. Oscar really cannot contest this LeBlanc.
Cannot. But it's an interesting dynamic where Kingen in the extended fight can't really contest Humanoid either. The great thing about this Yone is he does scale exceptionally well. He's an absolute menace to deal with in the side lane. He's got a decent amount of HP now as well, thanks to the Stridebreaker.
Yeah, the sustain, the dash on the Q3, the ability to mitigate so much CC with the Soul Unbound makes it difficult to match. Of course, ShowMaker probably has the tools to do it decently well, but Kingen certainly does not.
ShowMaker's definitely never going to die to Humanoid, that's for sure, unless he fully commits everything. But I would be surprised if he did that.
Aiming now 3 items, and that is a problem for the side of Fnatic. Noah only just got the blasting wand. Fnatic, though, still ready to fist fight for this setup. Lucid will win that Smite fight. Ulti from aiming, chunking out Razork. Both sides posturing. With Humanoid playing in bottom lane, he will have a bit of time to try and hit that tier 2. However, will need to immediately TP if a fight does break out. whereas ShowMaker is much, much closer.
Both teams don't want to overextend. The first one of Worlds is incredibly valuable. LEC's second seed versus the LCK's third. Of course, I think if you'd ask many, they were not expecting Dplus KIA to be the third seed. But here we go, the Baron started off. Fnatic have no information of this being started.
Noah, of course, Void Seeker. Nice to have that long-range poke tool to give them at least a little bit of information, but you're right, DK, I think maybe undue hesitation. If they had perfect information, I think they would have realized they probably could force that down.
The thing is, Dragon spawns in a minute.
True.
So the worst case scenario is no one gets the Baron, right? But you've lost a lot of HP, and now Fnatic, because you're in the river, have better position over mid, giving them access to the Dragon, so you then can't contest it. So yeah, they fish, and they said, you know what? This isn't safe enough. Instead, we're going to go back to base, set up for the Dragon, spend what gold we can. Fnatic's in a similar position where they want to spend as much as they can.
Kingen chunked. Does have the TP.
But the mid-wave control is just consistently in the favor of Dplus KIA.
I mean, it's just so hard to step up against Ezreal, right? He just gets to hit the wave for free with Mystic Shot. You always have to put yourself in jeopardy if you're Noah to step into that wave when you don't have the team to support you. As Fnatic, again, find themselves in a position where they may have to fight through this choke point. Both teams sprinting towards that mid wave to try to get push, or at least set it to a neutral state. Bot wave in favor of Fnatic gives them an angle to play through, but you can see that control ward in the brush, and the minimap at the bottom of your screen does mean that Kingen always has a TP flank angle. No rage, however. Gnar won't be available too quickly as Fnatic, again, trying to take away this objective. Lucid miles away. They just need to burn this down now. Well played from Fnatic. They can secure this. DK, if they don't find the fight, that's big. Now instantly the follow-up coming in from Humanoid. Soul unbound, going to find 3 on the knockup. Can snap back instantaneously, and that's the power of the pick. Noah goes in right after him. A perfect 1-2 punch to find the shutdown onto aiming.
Out of nowhere, Fnatic find a massive fight. They shut down the bot lane of Dplus KIA, and now there's a potential Baron on the cards. The fight that they needed, they're able to find off the back of Humanoid with a great ultimate.
Fantastic engage. Yone and Humanoid together. Noah following now, though. They're trying to up the pace of the game. This is where it starts to get messy. ShowMaker, can they turn this one back with the power of the Yone? And this fight is huge. Shut down there. Humanoid starting to look like a monster, trying to 2v1 the solo laners on the side of DK while his team finishes the objective. Flash back to safety. ShowMaker wants to finish the job. Humanoid now in trouble, and the Baron still tearing through his team as ShowMaker and Kingen. Look at them, circle them, try to find these angles. Yone coming over the wall. What is the call here? Fnatic desperate to finish this objective. Playing with fire, getting lower and lower. Baron taken by Razork. The Secure is there, but now Kingen going mega. Kingen trying to finish the job. Ezreal ult in the midst of it all! But now it's Noah versus Kingen, and Noah gets the fight!
This is the chaos we were waiting for. Absolute cinema delivering as Fnatic find the Baron. But what did it cost them? All 4 other members. Yone oversteps. Humanoid tries to go for 2v1 and he just can't win that. Kingen is able to get the Mega Gnar, connects the jungler into the wall along with the support. Oscar gets killed by the snipe. I think it was the Zyra that had enough burst to actually take out ShowMaker at the very end there. And then Noah stays alive. I mean, the coaching staff is stressed. And that was a situation where I really think the Humanoid was feeling himself a little too much. And he oversteps, but the Baron is secured, and now the cold is dead even.
Yeah.
This is what we wanted.
We'll look back. That play will be very heavily decided by whether or not Fnatic win this game. If they win this game, you know, respect the Humanoid for having the gusto to go for it.
We didn't get a replay of the previous fight, but you have to give credit for Humanoid for finding that incredible ultimate at the bot side river, setting up the rest of Fnatic for a huge team fight win. But this is the beauty of both these teams. And now that we enter a state where no one has a clear advantage, itemization is largely equal across the boards. Oh, nice damage coming out from ShowMaker.
Lucid on the way in.
And you've got 3 members of Fnatic just sieging onto mid, not really making much progress. Yone now in an awkward position as Humanoid continues to push in bot.
And this is kind of the range advantage we talked about, right? It's very easy for aiming and ShowMaker to get down a little bit of poke. ShowMaker might have to eat some damage on the way in to get it down, but still good work thus far. TP bot side, quick ulti from Humanoid, a bit of extra movement speed now coming in, knock back into the wall. Lucid should just be a quick kill pick up here. Nowhere for Humanoid to go. Excellent pick to just further disrupt the potential of this Baron from Fnatic.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a big misplay. The rest of his team is disengaging from mid, and he walks through his bot side jungle. He pushes a wave that he shouldn't have pushed, and Humanoid needs to lock in. for the sake of Fnatic, because this Baron, even though they're able to secure it, all it ultimately does is neutralize the game. They're not able to convert it. They would have loved to be able to unlock this mid tower. It gives you so much more access into the enemy jungle. But instead, yes, that is what's happened.
All right, well, you can't say that it's not a banger. Whatever else you want to say about this game. It is a 300 gold Baron power play, Red Bull Baron power play, excuse me, which means they've lost about 1,100 gold since they got that Baron, which does make sense because everybody on their team died, except for Noah. They're now really just trying to leverage those last few seconds of Baron empowered minions to push in mid, but it doesn't work. Mid lane tier 1 is still up. Betty.
Yeah, it is.
You know what's good for Fnatic? Again, where this is the silver linings for Fnatic cast.
Well, just for context, Dplus KIA is still winning.
Yeah. They're still great. If they, all it takes is one Drake to go in their favor and this game's over.
That was close.
And again, we have a situation where it looks very likely that DK are going to be first on objective setup.
Yes.
And Fnatic are going to have to walk through a choke to try and contest. And while they've gotten the last 2 Drakes, again, every single one has the potential to be taken away by Lucid.
That's very scary observers, showing how little Fnatic can really see. And that's a dangerous position to be in, so they're going to do the smart thing and gain access through mid. Oscar takes the dangerous path, doesn't get punished too much for it. Ooh, I say that, ShowMaker with great damage.
Kingen off to the side as well. If Fnatic can wait out the Mega without losing too much more HP, it's not a bad trade deal. Humanoid keeps his eyes locked on this tower.
They finally secure it, but it's still Dplus KIA that have control over the Baron. Admittedly, Braum lost a decent amount of HP. Oscar, though, continues to get chipped away from him. He needs to go back to base, TP back into the fight. He needs to go urgently. No deep wards, really. Oh, there's one in the tri-brush at the bottom.
It's just soloing the objective. Jun has no HP.
ShowMaker is doing so much work in the river, forcing Fnatic to face check. This is exactly how you want to play.
Razork is about to just get one shot by ShowMaker here. He's forced to throw down the ultimate. Will not get into the pit. That is Infernal Soul. And now this fight went from bad to worse. But instantly, they find the engage. They pull the trigger, and maybe it'll be enough. Lucid with an excellent ultimate to try to disrupt the fight. They're now trying to retreat. But again, Humanoid, Noah together in the clutch. They may have lost the objective, but they find the angle. Kingen now chasing. Triple kill for Noah.
I'm baffled as to how Fnatic found that fight. It looked like that their whole team had been chunked out, that they didn't have the HP to contest. Dplus KIA still secured the soul, but it's Jun with an incredible ultimate to engage, followed up by Humanoid that's set up for the fight. So the TP comes in from Oscar. Look at the damage from ShowMaker. Razork can't get into the pit. The soul is secured. Jun on no HP goes in, gets a 3-man ulti connect. Noah immediately follows up. Humanoid follows up. They force aiming out of the fight, and while Razork does fall, the chase comes through from Noah. He's able to get a snipe with the W, and he walks away with a triple kill. We talked about how coming into this game, eyes were going to be on the AD carry matchup, and Noah is showing up today.
I mean, he persevered through what was a pretty difficult early game, all things considered. Humanoid, though, still bringing in so much damage, doing so much work in those moments, and you could see aiming. While he is strong, all things considered, in terms of itemization, it's so hard for him to play fights once any piece of CC hits. Once he's marked it all by Noah, he really just runs out of space.
Fnatic now find themselves staring down a soul. Of course, they're going to be feeling a lot more confident with more items coming through, nearly full build for Noah. The Baron spawning. It's Fnatic's first time really this whole game gaining vision control over DK's side of the map. ShowMaker, oh my goodness, just look at the damage.
HP.
The Baron being started by Fnatic.
This is very confident, but Humanoid and Oscar should shred through this quite quickly. Noah as well.
But ShowMaker's damage is
ShowMaker
too
over the
scary.
wall. Healing now coming in. They're forcing out the early ultimate. They managed to lock up Jun. The follow-up engage is still going to be there. Humanoid still finding multiple. The Baron taken down in the meantime. ShowMaker doing so much work, but all of DK is grouped up into a death ball, looking to finish these kills. Noah goes golden. Noah trying to flash out. Blast Cone just knocks him straight into the air. However, as Humanoid gets picked off by ShowMaker on the side. Jun taken out as well. It's a disaster for Fnatic as they're getting run down. Kingen flash forward, throws a boulder. The wall-up won't hit, but ShowMaker certainly will. Razork taken out.
The Baron costs them everything. Oscar's the only member still alive. That was a massive overforce from Fnatic. And with these death timers and a wave push in mid, Dplus KIA may very well look to try and end the game right now.
Oscar has to delete this wave. They don't have Baron, but if he steps up at all, he dies.
15 seconds on Jun, 25 on Humanoids.
Tension mounting, Fnatic
I don't think he can hold this. He doesn't have
Was
the
it too
ultimate
much?
available.
Was it an overstep? The answer seems to be yes. Oscar dead, wave gone, base gone. DK a bit back and forth there for a few moments, but they'll close this game out clean.
And just like that, the game is over. Dplus KIA getting the better of Fnatic at the final fight. A crazy back and forth. Some highs, some lows, but ultimately it's decided off a single fight.
I don't even know what to say about that one. Yone looks very good. Great moments, questionable moments, but that's enough from us here at the Kai'Sa Desk. Let's send it back over to the AD to break that one down.
Thank you so much. We promised you absolute cinema.
You got it.
Or, yeah, I forgot.
Believe in the show.
slogan?
Believe in the show.
Or believe
You
in the
lost
show.
faith, didn't you? You didn't believe.
We got both of it, and it was really interesting to see how the things we said that were going to make this interesting is that we have two teams who, once they are in control, cannot keep that control and steer it into a victory. And we saw that from Dplus KIA, and we saw it from Fnatic, and oh, that final fight, GB.
Yeah, for sure. That final fight was definitely... It was a bit of a yikes. It felt like it already looked a bit dire, but as soon as Noah's ulting into that one, it's definitely a rough one. But I will say, I was saying at the start while watching the game, Fnatic can't throw if they don't have the lead. So for the longest time, they didn't have a lead, right? But then the problem actually became they got a lead, and then suddenly when they had a lead, they started throwing. But then DK got a lead, and then it was really whoever had the lead really didn't want it.
It was really tough, and a lot of it for me was just how often Yone was getting picked in fights. But here was the play.
No.
Noah and 5 guys. It was really tough for him to get out of this situation.
He
tried
doesn't
to
even
use
get a
blast
burger
cone.
out of it.
He doesn't. He doesn't.
But it's...
I'm gonna zag.
Okay.
Go ahead.
This is not Noah's fault, guys.
Are you
kidding me? There's already an
It is.
Infernal Soul, and like, sure, this is the final fight, and people are predisposed to say, lol, Noah.
Yeah.
But come on,
Sure,
this
I mean,
was super
sure,
winnable for Fnatic.
yeah, for sure. If you're asking me about the game, completely agree. Noah held them in that game for so
Yeah.
long. He found a solo kill as well on aiming in a game state where it looks super dire. They trade 1-for-1. I think Noah had an incredible early to mid game here, especially considering how whacked that early game looked from Fnatic, right? But it's still the same trigger point that happens in that late game. Humanoid goes out with solo.
you're
and
only as good as your last fight. I'm sorry to say it. And you're on the world stage, so it has to be
To
pixel perfect.
To me, it was simply about they had the lead, first of all, and then Baroness, I will talk about it afterwards.
Talk about it later. We won't. It's ShowMaker standing by in the Verizon post-game interview.
And we're back to the stage for the first victory of Dplus KIA, and I have ShowMaker with me to talk about this one. Thank you so much for joining me after this game. It was a complicated one, even though you had an early lead. What happened mid-game? And also, what do you think of the damage distribution in your composition? Because it felt like you were not dealing enough damage in the end.
승리 정말 축하드리고 인터뷰 너무 감사드립니다. 하지만 오늘 경기에 대해서 좀 여쭤보고 싶은데 비록 시작은 굉장히 좋았고 초반에 이득을 많이 봤지만 사실은 경기를 끝내는데 굉장히 오래 걸렸던 것 같고 좀 경기가 굉장히 복잡하게 흘러갔습니다. 오늘 경기 어느 점이 좀 까다로웠는지 그리고 오늘 조합을 봤을 때 좀 딜량 분배라든지 좀 딜이 좀 모자랐던 것 같아요. 오늘 조합적으로는 어떻게 보시나요?
확실히 저희가 초반에 많이 리드한 것 치고는 좀 중반 단계에서 용 관련해서 실수가 좀 나와가지고 되게 힘들었던 것 같고 딜 관련해서는 저희가 사실 사거리가 더 길기 때문에 뭐 크게 생각하진 않았던 것 같아요.
I mean, for sure, we were having a lot of lead early on, but I think we were struggling a lot in the mid game, especially we had a lot of mistakes happening around the dragons. But I was not too concerned about the damage because I think we were able to easily outrange them, so it was not a big deal.
All in control here. When I think of the Worlds trailer video, you were saying 2019 was my first Worlds. I'm such a different player now. What changed mostly for you, ShowMaker, in all these years?
그리고 오늘 월드 티저에서 이제 19년도에 뜨는 나의 첫 월드를 치렀는데 나는 이제 정말 많이 성장했고 좀 다른 선수다라고 말씀하셨어요. 어떤 변화를 좀 경험했다고 볼 수 있을까요?
이제 수많은 대회들을 많이 하면서 좋은 성적을 낼 때도 있었고 안 좋은 성적을 낼 때도 있었는데 그런 뭐 여러 가지 경험들을 해보면서 좀 더 인간적으로나 프로 게이머적으로나 성장을 많이 한 것 같아서 그런 말씀 드렸던 것 같고 실제로 자신감도 있어서 앞으로 기대해 주시면 좋을 것 같아요.
throughout the numerous experience at multiple events, I was able to thrive, but also sometimes I was struggling and I was not able to success. And that experience helped me mature so much as a human and also as a professional player. So I have grown so much and I'm very confident heading into this world.
So talking about this confidence, your name on the EUW server is Syndra. You are Syndra in 2 of Riot's music videos. Are you the best Syndra at World, ShowMaker?
지금 유럽 서버 솔랭닉도 신드라고 이제 월즈 뮤비 2편에서 신드라로 등장을 하셨잖아요. 내가 셋째 신드라다 말씀하실 수 있을까요?
Yes.
Last question that I have for you is that I remember that last time you were in Europe, you talked about the UW server as some villains inhabiting that server. I know you had an awful time. Has the server been treating you nice this time? How is solo queue for you?
지난 유럽 월즈 하실 때 이제 유럽 서버에 빌런들이 있다라고 하셨는데 이번 솔랭 경험은 좀 어떠신가요?
아직 몇 판 해보진 않았지만 네, 벌써부터 너무 많이 반겨주셔가지고 네, 너무 기쁜 것 같고 네, 수많은 네, 유저분들 빨리 만나러 가고 싶습니다.
I didn't really get to play a lot of solo queue games so far, but there were some welcoming me already, and I'm excited to say hello to all the users out there in EUW solo queue.
Stay tuned for ShowMaker's solo queue adventures. Thank you so much for the interview. Congrats on winning your first game. Ji-san, thank you again for the translation. And we will be back for Game 5 right after this.
Yes.
Is there, he's able to get out to safety just in time. Razork throwing down the ultimate, but hand delivered. Lucid bringing Jun back under the tower to punish. Lucid going in, has already locked up Humanoid. Humanoid wants to get out to safety. The ulti, though, hits a target, means he doesn't really have anywhere else to go. Ignite still there, Lucid!
And fight after, we can fight after, guys. Yeah. Fight. Yeah, Braum. Don't jump, Ezreal.
Look, LV.
No push a bit.
LV here, 1 HP, LV here.
I cannot kill her.
It's Oscar dead, wave gone, base gone. DK a bit back and forth there for a few moments, where they'll close this game out clean.
在抵达那一刻之前，
你能做的只有等待。
如果故事再重来一次，我想 ADC Line 还会做出相同的选择。
等待比分失衡，企图从中看清胜负的端倪。
等待一切安静，好听清自己脑海里的声音，直到抓住那一刻。
他们可能会因为激进而失误，但是不会因为胆怯而畏惧。